This is owning hermit crabs on a budget. Now let's get started. Quick disclaimer before we start the video, hermit crabs are not cheap pets, but these are just some hacks that you can try to do to limit the price. Starting off with tank size, the bigger tank for hermit crabs, the better. Here I have a 10-gallon tank. Tanks like this that you receive your hermit crabs in are a big no-no because they can't hold heat or humidity and they don't have enough room for hermit crabs at all. At your local pet store, you find 10-gallon tanks and above, but they could be pretty pricey, so sometimes it's best to look on a place like Facebook Marketplace, where you could find cheap tanks in good condition. Moving on to substrate. It is recommended to have 6 inches of substrate, especially if you have multiple crabs, so that their molting does not get interrupted by their friends. The best substrate to use is 50% eco-earth and 50% play sand. You can find a pretty big bag of play sand at your local Lowe's or Home Depot for a very cheap price, and you can find eco-earth at your local pet store, which can be cheap depending on what size you get it in. Most people do not know that hermit crabs need fresh water and salt water in their aquarium, and they need to fully submerge themselves in their water. For the plain water, you can just use spring water. If you're using tap, make sure that you add in a primer or something to make it safe. For the salt water, you can buy Instant Ocean, which is fairly cheap on any website or in the pet store, and you can get it in a pretty large bag. As for food, instead of feeding your hermit crab pelleted food, you can feed them stuff that's probably found in your kitchen and found at your local grocery store, and you can save a lot of money. To see more about a hermit crab's diet, go to my TikTok, Molly the Shepherd Dog, because I make meals for my hermit crab on there. For shells, it's recommended to have at least 6 shells per hermit crab for your tank. If you go to the pet store, you can find shells that are very expensive and you only get 1 or 2 in a pack, so I recommend ordering them in packs on Amazon for way cheaper. You get a lot more shells for less of a price. As for hides and climbing plants, I found the fake plants you see in there at the dollar store, and you can also find a hide at the dollar store too. It's like those little candle things. You could also find bark or driftwood outside in your backyard or anywhere outside and just boil it to get off the bacteria and stick it in, and your hermit crabs will eat it and even climb on it. Thing with leaf litter, if you find leaves outside, you can boil them and put them in your tank and your hermit crabs will eat them. It's important that your hermit crab has heat and humidity in their tank because that's what they breathe. If not, it can permanently damage your hermit crab's gills. So it's great to have a lid on your tank or saran wrap like I do to keep in the humidity. To keep the heat in, you can get a heating pad from your local pet store, or again, you can find a second-handed one on Facebook Marketplace. You do not need to spend money for humidity. You can simply give your tank a spritz every day. You can put a bubbler in your pools, or you can soak moss in your tank. If your hermit crabs are pretty active, you can put a hamster wheel in there for them because hermit crabs can walk miles. So you can find cheap hamster wheels at really anywhere. I got mine at Walmart because it was pretty cheap there. I don't know how it is at the pet store. I hope you guys now know how to limit your hermit crab price a little bit, and maybe you learned something about hermit crab care. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!